How good is your self-talk? What do you say to yourself throughout the day? I'm sure, like many of us, it will be sometimes quite critical and judgmental and not very nice. Sometimes we just get stuck in a pattern, and that can be from very early age, where you maybe were told that you weren't good enough, that you were doing things wrong, that you can't do things properly, or that the message in some way was that you're not enough. So I'd love for you to start doing what I do all the time now, which is to turn those negative self criticisms around. Throughout my day now, quite frequently, and I really don't care if people are watching, is I'll just talk to myself. So, for example, I might be walking out in nature and suddenly I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I didn't get that done today, or I should get back home to do this now, or I didn't get back to that person. Oh my goodness. I may start to catastrophize, and I'll click my fingers and I'll turn it around and I'll say, it's all right, Al, you've done enough. You can do that later. It's all good. You can relax. That's just one example. Another example was when I was going for a walk. At 6 o'clock in the morning, it was pitch black and it was very rocky. I was with my dog. It was very rocky. It was going down in some bush onto a pathway. And as I started to go down, I started to say to myself, this is silly. What are you doing? Oh, this is not a good idea. I turned it around, clicked my finger and thought, this is a challenge. I'm going to be okay. This is an adventure. I've got my dog with me. And even though it was pretty full on and I had cobwebs everywhere and I was screaming a bit like a banshee at times, I just kept turning my thoughts around and saying, it's all right, you're safe. Keep going. You can do this. So I want you to start treating yourself like you are your own best friend. Think about an example that you might say to yourself that makes you contract and feel small and like you shouldn't even be saying that. So it may be something like, you can't do this, or stop that. You can't do this, or I'm stuck. I can't possibly move forward. It might be something like, I'm about to get in trouble. And this is often the child voice that literally didn't know how to turn it around. You are probably an adult now when you're watching this, or a teenager. You can turn your thoughts around. You can start having more self-love thoughts and actions and speech to yourself. Even look in the mirror. And sometimes, when you look in the mirror and you start judging and criticizing, I'd like you to pay attention. When you look in the mirror, again, catch yourself. If you're about to judge yourself, say, I'm sorry. I don't mean to judge you. I love you. You're good enough. You're pretty enough. You're whatever it is that you want to say to yourself. Take a moment to really look into your own eyes. You will start to have a lot more compassion for yourself when you treat yourself like your own best friend. When you fall into thinking that somebody doesn't like you anymore, or that you've upset somebody, just turn it around and say, it's okay. It's all going to be okay. You may need to take action to correct something, but in that moment, soothe yourself, even give yourself a hug, and say to yourself how much you care about you. One last example I'd like to give you was when I couldn't find my car in a car park. You know that feeling. It was an enormous car park. And I immediately, when I was going back to the car, I couldn't find my car, and I immediately sort of went into a bit of panic because I was supposed to get home to take my son to the dentist. I could feel my whole body going into that fight or flight or freeze response. And then I clicked my fingers and I turned it around and said, it's okay. The car's here. You're going to be okay. Nobody's dying. Everything's going to work out. And honestly, within a second, I looked around more calmly and I saw my car. When you get into that stressed state of contraction and fear and feeling like something's not right with you, you're not able to think clearly, you're making yourself smaller and you're adding on a belief of some sort that you're not enough. I find this so powerful, and I do it more and more. As I say, sometimes I'm walking in nature and I have a thought and I might just mutter something to myself, or sometimes, of course, I do it in my mind, but I can do it throughout my home. So I work here, as you know, I am an EFT trainer and practitioner, so I'm working with people all the time to help them be their own best friend. I have to do this too. And I do it sometimes if I'm in the kitchen, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, have I done enough today? And then I reflect, I've done this, I woke up, I walked the dog, I took care of my 16-year-old son, I prepared for my first client, I called my husband to see if he was okay, and then I start to realise, why do I put myself down? I'm never always going to get that list done, and it's okay. So change the self-talk. When you catch yourself doing it, click your finger, turn it around. Please let me know how you get on. Like, subscribe, and leave a comment about how you're finding being your own best friend. I'd love to hear how it works for you. It certainly works for me. I instantly feel better. Take care for now and look forward to seeing you on the next video. Bye bye.